Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to the iConis podcast. And today we're going to talk about anime and racing. And no, we're not talking about Speed Racer. We're just talking about Future Cyber Formula, GPX. Once again, people, thank you so much for tuning in to the iConis podcast and keeping the show going. We're having some fun. And I just wanted to talk to you today about anime and racing. So anime does a lot of things, a lot of genres, right? They've talked about basketball, they've talked about airplanes and futuristic stuff and so forth and so forth and so forth. Here we are. But today we're going to talk about racing. Why? Because at time of recording, the Formula One is in Montreal. So I know that happened yesterday. You're seeing this today, the day after. You saw the results, be it if you had your highs or lows, how the race, you let me know. If you're a fan, here I am in my Mercedes merch shirt. But this one is an older one. This one is when Lewis Hamilton was part of Mercedes, number 44 himself. Woo! Got some cold cuts, got some cold cuts, got some cold cuts. If you know that 44 joke, okay, you got it. All right, cool. But before we jump into the episode, we're going to go through a couple of things. So one, thank you for watching the show. Like, subscribe, and share. Don't let the show be a secret. We have a coffee page. We have a Patreon page. So any support that you can give there is highly and greatly appreciated. You can find me at barry3d.com. That's where I'm posting all my shows for my stand-up shows and anything you want to see. So come out, see me live. You can find Rod at Mr. Rod C. So you can find him and you can find where he's DJing at all across the places. And of course, please check out Larry Rick Lozato's Facebook page. So that's for obscure, underrated comic book characters. Join the page, interact with all of us, and of course, the multiple of thousands of people that are on there. And Larry's also doing the shorts on our channel too. So check those out. And last shout out, definitely the one and only Mr. Jason Reese, J Bird Digital Arts. For any digital media that you might need, be it if it's digital or physical, let him know. Heard about it on the iConis podcast. He'll give you a discount on the work. Here we go. We today are going to talk about something that came to mind for me, and it's a little bit of a story, right? I always have stories. So Future GPX Cyber Formula. You know, what is that? That was a anime cartoon that was made back in 1991, and be quite a couple of creators behind this. And I'll get into that in a second. But let me go back. Story time with Barry. So I like my futuristic stuff. I like futuristic looking cars. I like futuristic looking anything. I could have been a spaceman, maybe a time traveler to the future, not the past, because that wouldn't work out for me. Okay. All right. And what was happening, I was back in Montreal in my younger years as a teenager, and I was walking through Chinatown on Saint Laurent Boulevard. And on there, of course, there's a various numbers of shops. And one of the shops had this model kit. Now, I don't speak Japanese, so I couldn't understand anything of it. As I saw the price point, not too bad, but I didn't have those ducats in my pocket at the time, and I didn't have a phone to take a picture with. This is pre-cell phones, so, okay, all right. Yes, I'm that guy, I'm that age. And I saw this one car, and it had like 6 wheels on it, right? So two sets of pair in the front and one in the back. It had very sharp lines to it. And, the colors were red, white, and blue. Your standard colors, and it looked dynamic. And I'm like, that car looks cool. I have no idea what it's about. And I just caught Formula, and then it said whatever it was. So back then, yes, I was a fan of Formula One, and I used to watch the races on the wide world of sports, with the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. That was their tagline when they're opening the show. And I'm a huge fan of it. Then I kind of fell off and then, of course, got back into it, right? Thanks to my brother-in-law, and got me back into it. But of course, certain images stay in your head. And I always look online just trying to match up the image and trying to find information on certain IPs, when I got my hands on a computer back then and going from memory and putting 6-wheel car. And of course, I get the 6-wheel car from Formula One at the time that they ran in those races. But I would see this odd one pop up, and I was trying to find out more. And then lo and behold, with perseverance and searching pre-AI, I finally came across what this series was. And then I was able to get a hold of the original series. And this series was called Future GPX Cyber Formula, which was talking about Formula One, obviously in the future. Now, this show came out in 1991, and it ran for 37 episodes. And they were predicting how racing would have been done in the year 2020, for example, 2000 or 2020. So they're ahead of the time for this. And this is what I'm bringing up to. So this show broke down with many episodes. So it had, as I said, it had 37 episodes Future GPX Cyber Formula. And then, of course, it had some spin-offs on top of it. So that was 37 episodes that was done, and it first aired in March 15th of 1991 up to December 20th of 1991. And then, of course, it broke down some OVAs. So the first OVA it had was Future GPX Cyber Racing Formula 11, and then it was Future GPX Cyber Formula 0. So 11 had 6 episodes. Then we had, 0 that had 8 episodes. And then we had Cyber Formula Saga, which had 8 episodes. And of course, Cyber Formula Sin, that had 5 episodes. And that brought us up to 1988 up to 2000. So this is where the premise of the show was done. Now, I know a lot of fans are huge into this show, maybe not so much in North America. And I think you can find it on Crunchyroll. I always screw that up. My daughter laughs at me all the time, and that's fine. Keep in mind that a lot of people here in North America, we know more Speed Racer, had the same color scheme and all that, but this was really what was put together. Now, this kind of followed up the big boom in F1. So when the show first debuted and they were working, or before it debuted, they were working on this show to kind of put it together. It was going to be aimed at a younger audience, aimed at kids, to make it cute with cars that talked and just like that. And then when the big boom happened with Formula One in Japan, it kind of shifted it, saying, well, we're not going to make it a kid's show, we're going to make it more for adults. So these are parts that kind of brought that up there. So what was behind that? So back in 1987, you had Satoru Najima with Honda, and there was Nakajima, what became Japan's first full-time F1 driver, simultaneously with a Honda-powered unit. So that was step number one that really got fans excited back then. And then, of course, the return to Suzuki. So returning to that Suzuki track after a decade of being away, that was another one that got the fans. So these are 2 parts that got the fans in there. And then the third one, of course, the great Anton Senna, and his phenomenon, his rivalry with his driver. So he was driving a McLaren with a Honda unit. That was a part of it. And with Alan Prost. So because of their rivalry and all the attention it got back then, it really, inflamed the fans to get into this project. And then, of course, the anime studio behind this turned around and said, hey, we got to capitalize more on this and follow through. And this is where the show came about. The studio itself that was behind this, they turned around and they worked on different projects. So what it was is that you had the name of the studio, and the name of the creator. Now, keep in mind, the name of the creator, it's not one person. Hajime Yatate. Now, you might think that's the name of a person. That sounds really cool. Okay, who is this person? If you look up that person, you're not going to find a person. That is a name that the studio used for all the creative people behind this. So that was done at Sunrise Studios, and Sunrise Studios Wadasatu, and they're the ones behind it. So you had the director, which was Mitsu Fugada, which is his directorial debut behind this series. And then, of course, developer head writer is Hajimo Hashiyuma. Forgive me on the pronunciations of people's names. You know how that kind of breaks down. And of course, the mechanical designer behind that was Shuji Kawamori, was the designer behind it. Now, why does that name stand out? Because he was behind things as Mobile Suit Gundam, behind Cowboy Bebop, okay, The Vision of Escaflowne, Outlaw Star, The Big O. But of course, he was also behind Macross. And if you know me, I'm a huge Robotech fan, and that's where Macross came from. So these are some of the people that are behind this show, and unusual for them. Usually when they have a person in the show, the lead person was a young boy. He was 14 years old, and he's trying to escape with an invention his dad made, the Yasuda, and that's that car, and it had its AI in there. Here we are with AI again back in 1991, and when it was voice activated. So when he was trying to save his dad's car from getting stolen, the car turns on, hears his voice, and then automatically imprints him as the only person that can activate it. And the only person with the override code is his father, who's not around anymore. So this is why this 14-year-old had to be there in the races and going through different terrains and obstacles along that, on the tracks. So the tracks composed of 10 races around the world over various different tracks, and they're allowed to use these cars that had a couple of things that predated Formula One. That it's almost, and this is why this show was back then. So keep in mind, in 1991, if you watch what was happening in racing at the time, it was before the DRS system that was involved, along with other systems that they use today. So they were predicting where Formula One could have gone at that time, and that technology is there today. That's why it's really important as a racing fan to go back and watch this show. Now, what I mean about the lead actor is usually when they have young boys portrayed in an anime, it's usually they have a higher pitched voice. They get a girl to be the voice actor. And this one, they turned around and said, no, we're actually going to get a boy to be the voice actor for this. So, I mean, you don't believe me? Look at The Simpsons. Who's doing Bart's voice? It's not a male, it's a female that's behind Bart's voice. It's Nancy Cartwright. So there you go. This is where it comes into. So he starts off at 14. Is that unbelievable? Well, look at the drivers that have been taken today in Formula One. They are young. The youngest one right now is 17 years old that was brought in as a driver, driving a multi-million-dollar car for a huge big name team. Okay, looking at you, Kimi Antonelli. All right, I'm wearing my Mercedes merch. All right, so this is why I think you should go back and watch the show. I know a lot of people are more accustomed to Speed Racer and not this particular product. I'll call it Future Formula GPX. There we go. Cyber, right? There's a whole long name to it, an acronym. So I was talking about the technology. So the technology they use is like, pollution-free engines. That's one, right? With hydrogen engines, room temperature, supercooling motors. Okay, we got that. Navigation AI. That was another thing they use. Artificial intelligence systems. AI, of course, is behind that. And then the main one is, digital telemetry along with the DRS, as I said, the drag reduction system. So this was used in the cartoon before it was really available in real life. And they kind of predicted all of that. So if you're a racing fan, go back and watch it. Now, here's the thing, that the first season when you watch this is broken into two halves, as I like to say. The first half, it's more of a traditional car that you see there that is going through and doing all these races. So 4 wheels and everything like that. And then, of course, it has all its gadgets part of it to add to the race. And you have your teams and sponsorship and so forth. So they really used a lot of real life things. And then the car that I saw, the model kit that I saw when I was a kid, the car gets wrecked about halfway through, but they saved the computer system and they take that and they put it into a new body until they fix the old one. And that's where you get that sleek look, the really Formula One racing car that they start to use for the later half of the season. So if you're a fan of Formula One, if you're a fan of racing cartoons and you want to see one that stems more realistic than not, see where the inspiration came for some of these things. If you're a fan of the racers and the drivers, if you're here in Montreal and you checked out the Formula One, good on you for going through our wacky weather with it. And this is a cartoon that needs to be watched by a fan, and you can watch it with younger fans, and it's still gonna add that race. So when their season is done, I'll turn this on and watch this over and over again. If you can find it anywhere. I have not been able to find an English dub, but you can find English subs, and that is still good enough. And the action is great. The cars look good. The drama is there amongst the teams. Unlike the teams having 2 drivers per team, you have 1 driver per team, and how it breaks down. And it's nail biting to the end. So you need to go and check out this show. Let me know what you think down below. And this is Barry from the iConis podcast. Remember, like, subscribe, and share. Don't let the show be a secret. And this whole world was created by a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming. And for me, I need a new hoodie because Lewis has switched teams and he's gone to Ferrari. So now I got to get a Ferrari hoodie with Lewis to show my support, right? 44. Woo! Got my cold cuts. All right, I'm out.